well. Yeah, I also want to say thank you to the principal here at Hidden Valley High School. We got to see some incredible new facilities for students to go to when they recognize that they need to take some time in and have a break from the hecticness that can sometimes take place in high school. Beautiful food science room, and then also the amazing food pantry that's here on campus to support families, and the garden that's right here on site that produces just so much locally produced food for our families.
Awesome. I also am in awe of the student panel and of the staff at Hidden Valley and Principal Croson. And I think the cool stuff that's already been happening to support in Three Rivers, because I learn more every meeting, but it's cool to hear it from the kids' perspective of what, and then get answers to some of the kids' questions. My daughter was involved in the Destination Imagination at Fort Vanoy, and I don't know if you guys know anything about it, but it's awesome. It's like, I didn't know anything about it prior to her getting invited to it, and I guess Fort Vanoy's gone to nationals a couple years in a row, or a couple years, and it's improv and science and design thinking, and I think it's pretty awesome. I also got to go to a homecoming football game at Illinois Valley High School, and it was very cool to see the floats and the spirit and the pulled pork nachos, but it was a very cool experience.
Good. Those were awesome nachos, by the way. I had them at halftime. I had them at halftime.
All right.
How about over here at our director's table?
So my say something positive. One of the things that we got to see today in touring was the JCF room, and see the amount of work that's gone in. It's a student-led organization, and they've doled out $35,000 this year to grants, and just a really cool project that they've taken on here, and it's kind of created an organization of its own that's student-led, and just really cool to see the impact that they've had on our staff and students and community. And the pulled pork nachos at IV were phenomenal as well. I can attest to that. But also the pride out at Illinois Valley High School last week with homecoming week, and the floats and the tour through town, and seeing the community gather around that school is always fun to see during homecoming week.
I have two. The first one is just a huge thank you to Parkway Fire Station, who called 2 days ago and said, "We have 45 youth bike helmets. Do you want them?" And of course I said, yeah. So we went and we picked them up today, and we'll be putting those out to schools for the schools to just give out to kids who need a new one or need one or anything. So I don't know sizes yet, but just a way cool community partner to say, here's some bike helmets for kids. So very cool, Parkway Fire Station. And then the other one is my positive is just the 21st Century program here at this site, led by Center Coordinator Crystal Graham, and I don't know if she's around, but she was handing out meals right after school, and classes are going right now as we speak. And so on a typical day, you'll have things such as academic support for math, science, ELA, for English, also esports, gaming, drama club, rainbow club. And these are the ones that are upcoming. Listen to this. Upcoming soon: mountain biking, archery, baking, marketing, and then early bird strength and conditioning, competitive gaming, just a whole bunch of stuff. So Crystal has her office manager job during the day, and then after school just does a compassionate, heartfelt job organizing 21st Century here at Hidden Valley. So shout out to Crystal.
And staying on the Hidden Valley theme, I would like to just acknowledge our 3 special education teachers that we have here. We have Dennis DeCasas, Ashley Glover, and Mackenzie Noga, and they support over 70 students that are on IEPs. They also do a ton of other stuff. I mean, we They oversee the Sparrow Club, Dennis does. We've got the coffee stand going. We've got Mackenzie's helping coach volleyball. I mean, they're involved in all sorts of things in our school, and I think also really focus on inclusion in a beautiful way. I mean, our kids are all over our schools, and they are, Mustangs, every single one. And it's just lovely to see just the integration and the inclusion and the focus on making sure that all kids have access to everything. So appreciate you, Mustangs.
So we recently had the National School Lunch Recognition, or National School Lunch Program Recognition Week. And I want to thank Wendy for some great recognition of all of our amazing food service staff across the district. Had some great pictures that were posted, and just appreciate all the hard work they're doing to feed our kids. And again, appreciate our partnership with Chartwells and what they're doing, working with Brad and Lindsay there, and just all our kitchen staff across the district. They're just amazing. And had a recent kind of shift in food service last minute over at Fruitdale. I don't know if you heard, but we had a boil notification that our water, we had to couldn't use it for drinking and normal things that we do. So our lunch and breakfast had to make a quick shift, and they did a great job over at Fruitdale in adjusting to that situation. So my hat's off to them, and just appreciate the great work they're doing across the district, and then obviously in that situation, most recently at Fruitdale, the kitchen staff there did a great job with that adjustment.
Yeah, feed the kids, good stuff. Student panel was great, right? And Mr. Krosner brought out a little positive card, and he said, hey, so here's some positive things that we collected ahead of time. And half the cards have this guy's name on them. He's right there, a real good-looking guy in the back, Deputy Kanaisny, kids call him Deputy K. And so the kids here at Hidden Valley recognize he's out there, he's engaged, and they dig it, right? They fist bump him. And so I've been following this guy around the district. We have done safety walks at every school. And you walk onto a campus, and you're like, and all the kids swarm up to him. And I'm like, man, I got to start carrying those little badge stickers with me, because he's got something going on. But Deputy K is integrated, part of our staff. Kids know him, staff know him, the community knows him. He's making an impact for us. And we're going to talk a little bit later in my presentation about some of the ESSER funds, and we're supporting that position with Josephine County Sheriff through some of our ESSER dollars, and that goes a long way. So thank you, Deputy K. My other Say Something Positive just happens to be right next to him, the young lady sitting at the table, Trinity Shoden. She is our FFA and Ag teacher here, and this teacher, we walked into her classroom today, and she said hi for a second, but then she got right back to teaching because she was busy. Don't have time to be messing around with us, but that was a good thing. So she has her area up here with the greenhouses, the barn, FFA and Ag, and Hidden Valley was so amazing at the fair this year. Professional, they showed super well, but just great kids, right? And the fair is chaotic, and things are happening all the time, and to have such professional, polite, organized kids, it was really like a shining star for the district. And what Trinity's doing with her program aligns with this board's core value, the goal of life-ready students. Her students are resilient, they're innovative and creative, they have to be, to solve all the problems that, it's a living, breathing classroom up there, and so things are always happening. So hats off, Trinity Shoden. She's amazing. Superintendent's report, Board Chair? Right
Yes,
into it?
please
Okay.
do, yes.
We are here at Hidden Valley High School, and walking these halls for the last few years, obviously all of our halls have been impacted by climate and culture. And so one of the things that we're working on as a district is bring the climate and culture up. I want it to be positive. I want kids to have fun at school. So some of the things that our administrative staff here, so Travis Howard is our assistant principal and athletic director. Jessica Falkenhagen is our assistant principal. She's also the chair of our district-wide safety committee. And then Damian Croson, our principal. These are some of the things that they say they're proud of here at Hidden Valley High School. Travis is proud to be working with individuals who are genuinely happy and want to do their best for all students. And he's happy to be working with an administrative team where different opinions and experiences are valued and appreciated. Jessica Falkenhagen is happy about the fact that HVHS is a family, from the students, the staff, and throughout the community. We support each other to work together to ensure that all students leave Hidden Valley High School life ready, no matter what path they may be taking, college, career, military, trades, and beyond. And then Mr. Croson. He loves the school spirit here at Hidden Valley High School. And everyone's got these jerseys on. You see them, the Go Be Greats. The school spirit shines in our students, our staff, and our community. You can see it in the colors we wear to school and in our athletic competitions and local businesses that support Mustang Nation. He genuinely loves the relationships that are built in this building. The staff takes pride in knowing our students not only by name, but who they are as individuals, something I think we saw in the panel. And then collectively, we truly believe that each and every student has greatness in them, and it is our job to help students find their individual greatness and share it with the rest of the world. And I can support and agree with those things that the administrative team is proud of here at Valley, and so hats off to the Hidden Valley team. Thank you for everything you're doing here. School safety report. I told you that I report monthly on our school safety efforts. As I mentioned earlier, Deputy Kay, Jessica Falkenhagen, and sometimes, most of the time, myself are out. We walk every campus with an eye on security, like this room, right? What are secure points? The windows, all the different things. Where can you exit? Those kind of things. We look at every building. Every building in Three Rivers, to a degree, is different. Our campuses are different. The way people can access our campus is different. Sometimes it's really wide open. Here we have a long driveway that, if we could secure the gate, provides a buffer, right? Some schools don't have that. So these are all things that we're observing. We're working with staff at the schools to get their opinions, and then we're writing that down, and we're coming up with general guidances, district-wide, universal guidelines, and then specific for the school. In addition, we're doing lockout and lockdown drills in our schools where students and staff practice that behavior. If there is a situation, and Deputy K talks about this all the time, say there's a situation with a person carrying a gun 2 blocks down the road, and he wants to make sure that that situation does not make its way on a campus. We lock out. We secure the perimeter, and we secure the outdoor doors, but teaching still happens. People are still doing their thing in classroom. And when he takes care of the situation off campus, he gives us all clear, we open back up and we're good. Lockdown is different. It's if something was happening in the building right now, and it was on our campus, then that's where people secure in place where they're at. So whatever room they're in, the kitchen. You know, we did a lockdown at North Valley, and we went into the kitchen to try to find the staff, and we actually never found them. So they did a great job of hiding. But then in classrooms, they barricade doors, they prepare to defend themselves, all those things. And so then we give them feedback, and we learn every time that we go. So we're doing that at every campus as well. So we're doing the lockout drills separately from the lockdown. We also have 2 district-wide trainings set for December and early January, where we'll have a bunch of universal trainings. We'll talk about the things we've learned in these exercises that we've been performing. Deputy K will provide us the Stop the Bleed kit training. We have a lot of things. And then we're hoping to plan for, with all the staff that we'll have in those trainings, kind of a semi-live simulation, right? And to see what behaviors take place. We're looking for muscle memory. You can't plan for every situation, but you can be better at reacting to whatever comes our way. And that's our hope. I'm also talking to some outside folks and just running by what we've done to get their feedback that are in law enforcement. So we are doing everything we can. And of course, it's not fast enough, but it is big school district, a lot of schools, a lot of areas to cover. But so Deputy K is doing a great job. Just before I got here to this meeting, Sheriff Daniel called me just to make sure that we had everything we needed, that we had the support we needed, and I assured him that while Deputy K, I could give me 4 or 5 Deputy Ks and I'll make sure everything's fine. But he's one man and he's running around this district like crazy. But the Sheriff's Department still continues to support us as much as they can, and it's a really great partnership. So that's your safety report. Public organization tour report. So I have been out talking to people, and I have a presentation. This is a presentation that I show people when I go out and talk about the district. And one of the things, that's not it. I don't talk about summer school. That's Jessica. I do. I talk about how great summer school was. But I'm out, I'm talking like Rotary, Chamber, Kiwanis. And thank you to Wendy for setting up all those meetings. But we're talking about how do we start this year? I want to talk about the board's core values, what we call goals, but I really think it's morphed into core values. And then an explanation to the public. I'm not patting myself. I don't know what that noise is.
Is it me?
What we used, some of those relief dollars that everyone says we should be, buying air conditioners with, and those kind of things. What did we do with those ESSER dollars, the COVID relief fund money? So explaining that. So the next slide, and I'm not going to actually do my presentation, but this is a infographic of the core values that the board has. At the center, we have our life-ready learners. And we talk about that goal used to be reflected as a graduation rate goal. It used to be 83% graduation rate, or 85% graduation rate by 2023. And last year we exceeded that. We were, as a district, we're 88% or 89%. So we've morphed that. And graduation rate's an indicator of life-ready learners, but it's not the core value. So we're concerned, we want all the students to walk across the stage. But what we're most concerned with, what can they do on July 1st after graduation? What are they prepared to do in the real world? Are they prepared to work 40 hours a week and show up on time and finish their shift? Are they prepared to do all those things that we hope they are? So that's life-ready learners. Around that, families involved genuinely and a community-centered. So I went to Illinois Valley High School, and on Friday nights, where do you think everybody in Cave Junction was? At the football game. It was. I started when I was a little kid playing, touch football. It was more tackle than touch, but I started there when I was little, and that's where everybody went. And still we have some of that, but it's centered around those kind of things. But my school was always the center of everything, and we're trying to get back to that. So school-centered, our community-centered schools, involving around everything, is our culture of care. And this is what we talked about in the student panel, and I love the questioning that the board had for students and some of the conversations that you initiated, because it really demonstrated that core value to me, just watching it. We are very focused on what does a culture of care mean. And so I talk to administrators all the time about what are you doing to promote a positive culture in your building. And I hear, I'm doing this, and then we're doing a potluck, and a lot of I statements. And so we're now digging into, how do you know that's working? What's the impact of those things? And so I'm hoping that we can illustrate some of that. We have some amazing things going on, and Wendy's done a great job of going around and getting pictures of culture building activities. But that is a huge piece for us, and if I can take care of the staff, then the staff can do a great job of taking care of the students, and so that is a focus of mine. And then this is a movie I haven't seen yet. I don't know why that's happening. But if we were to actually advance to the next slide, I'll just walk you through it. Picture, if you will, a list of activities that we used our ESSER dollars for. So I get this all the time. Why didn't we have air conditioning when it was smoky and it was hot? Why didn't you buy AC? And I have a great answer for that in a second. But this is some of the things we had. We had about $25 million to work with. And we had some mandatory things we had to use that money on. And this is some of the things we did. Initially we had 27 teachers district-wide so we could open up school. We had to have smaller class sizes and spread students out, so we hired teachers. We added over 12,000 square feet of classroom space. Some of that construction is still ongoing, but that was some of the investment we made so we could provide more learning opportunities for students. We have single occupancy restroom upgrades that are taking place district-wide. We are working on an ELL family and community space at the district office where families can come and gather and get resources and work with Jessica Durant and her team, and Regina Jordan, who runs that program for us. We increased our student transportation and supported extra routes. We added PE and music support. We added PE and music at the elementary. We created mobile outreach vehicles, so we had students that needed to get online. We gave them hotspots. Those hotspots didn't work all the time, so Rob Saunders and his team created mobile outreach vehicles where we put an extra heavy-duty hotspot in a van, and we would park those vans in common spaces where students could come to us. It was close to their house. They could get food, sometimes some school gear, and then they could get online and do their work. And that was a really successful initiative. We have textbook adoptions for math and ELA that was paid for with that money. You can see, I have a list of stuff here. Deputy Kneisny, we paid for him for this year and for next year with that money. And so $25 million is a lot of money. These are a lot of activities. So let's just say, you know, when we went out for bond, we wanted roofs and some security, universal HVAC in our buildings. Next slide, we have just in roofing was a $35 million or $32 million liability. That estimate came to us in about 2018. Anybody knows about construction prices? That's probably not a good number these days. But even if we were allowed to use all those dollars, we wouldn't have been able to cover that liability. Next slide. Actually, go 2 slides. This slide's for the community. And then, so what are we doing now? Next slide talks about our bond effort. And so if you go to that one, this message. So the HVAC was $28.6 million. So my answer is we didn't even have enough. After all the requirements, let's say we had even $20 million left. How would we have decided as a board, as a district, who gets AC and who does not at that point? So it wasn't that we were not wanting to do those things. We weren't able. And so if the board next month votes to go out for bond in May, I would strongly suggest that we kind of get rid of a lot of the things that you see on the bottom except for safety, and we go for roofing and safety in this district. And we could change our campaign from safe, warm, and dry to just safe and dry. Because right now it's imperative that we protect our investment, protect our schools, and that's the end of my slide, so we can get out of that. But that is the gist of our presentation that we give, and it's been really eye-opening. One of the things that community organizations don't realize is that when I talk about the need to fix our roofs, I talk about the need, there's a need to add HVAC, and it's real. You're in our classrooms in September, early September, it's hot. It was hot today in a few classrooms. The state of Oregon does not provide capital improvement dollars in the state school fund. We get money from the state every year. It comes down, and we pay for salaries as the bulk. About 78% of that budget goes to salaries. And then we pay for supplies. We pay for keeping the lights on. We pay for all those other things. So it's operational. It's not capital improvement. If we want to build a new school, it's all based on local options, based on bonds. In the state of Oregon, 100% capital improvements are local options. And so there's a concept out there that we're misusing our money. We're not spending our money wisely. But that's just the way the state is built. That's what we're talking about out in the public. And so as I schedule more, I'll invite you guys. So a couple of you at one time could come and watch that presentation. Really great conversations afterwards, and I think it would be great for you guys to plug into that. Next month, you will hear from one young Casey Alderson over there. HR will be outlining the process that we use in Three Rivers School District for recruitment, for hiring, and most importantly, for vetting employees. the process that we are required to by law, and then the process that we elect to go through to make sure and ensure that we are putting the best possible employees, the best possible staff in front of our students, to ensure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we have the right folks in front of kids. So Casey will be doing that next month. Also next month, the conversation is starting this month about Newbridge High School. And so Newbridge High School is our Oregon Youth Authority school. It is basically an incarceration school for high school, sometimes middle school students, and students from across the state that are in the juvenile detention system are there. Once in a while, there will be a Josephine County student in there. There's about 60 or so education students in that program at any given time, and they're fluid. It's in and out. And we are the LEA, the local education agency that operates Newbridge. And Newbridge is located right behind Walmart. It's inside District 7's boundaries. And whenever it came around and it was formed, Three Rivers raised their hand and said, we'll do that, we'll take that on. And there's a lot of intricacies to administering that program. And at this point, we approved another charter school last month with the Kalmiopsis Community Arts School. And it's a lot for us to manage. 4 charter schools, OYA school. And we have a lot of partnerships with early ed. And so what I'm asking the board to do is consider the contract for that OYA, that contract expires on June 30th of 2023. And every time that comes up, we renew it. It's really not a question. I will be asking the board to consider on our November 16th meeting to not continue that contract as the LEA. That would pull Three Rivers out. And from what Casey and I understand, and this could be wrong, then it goes up for grabs to the local school district. So then we believe that District 7 would be able to say, hey, we'll take that on. Now, if District 7 says that we don't have the capacity for that, then it would fall to Southern Oregon ESD to administer. Important part of that piece is the staff and the students still get served, right? So that program doesn't go away because we raise our hand or throw our hands up. The OIA folks are on a totally different calendar, different contract. They're in grants pass, and so some of the things that impact D7 impact them, but we have to manage that. So it's a challenge. And so I'll be asking the board for us we've done a lot of years of service there, and that's time to let it go. And I think that is my superintendent's report. Pretty sure.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Valenzuela? All right, next item then we have on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? All right, one second. All right, any discussion? Susan? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. All right, here is where, we're not right there yet. Sorry, we are on to community comments. We have a few community comments. Looks like we've got 4 in total. It's okay.
When I turn this on,
We always do that.
That's
when
okay.
we
We
are
are setting a timer as 3 minutes, right? So each person that is commenting, I would just put you in alphabetical order, has 3 minutes, and first is Judy Ahrens.
Good afternoon, Judy Ahrens.
Yep.
Mr. Valenzuela, I want to thank you for your nice report. And, I want to compliment 2 districts on things that I think are outstanding, is their music department. Went to, I think the bands were performing over there at the high school a couple weeks ago or last week or whatever, and they were just outstanding. So I've always admired your music department, and I think you do an outstanding job. But some of my concerns are just questions Mr. Valenzuela, you know, you mentioned, I think on that chart you had up there about, what was it, the families involved. And what I want to do is clarify, families involved is good, but I think what the community, when I hear from things from the community, is that the family values. I feel like around our nation, we're losing our family values. So when you say family involved, I know we want to include exclusively every style and every type of lifestyle. But I think what we're missing sometimes is the family values. Do we have a thing for family values? Do we share how important the family is? You know, I know the school is saying, you know, we have help for the families. But what I want to know is just how much the parents are involved. We have a lot of, you know, divorces and kids that don't have dads at home, and that's unfortunately a part of our culture, and that's sad. But I'm just trying to think, when you're working with problems, how can we incorporate something when we know that we have a lot of kids that don't have families? Now, dads at home. When I was growing up and my child was in school, I put on a father-son banquet, and what we did, I went and got an uncle or somebody that would be, so no little boy would be left out of a father-son banquet. So everybody was involved. But that's what's going on in our culture. We don't see the dads at home, and that's affecting the school and everything that's going on right now. And one thing I want to say, along with the academic, I see all these programs you have and everything you do, but I think where we want to get back is like with when you say the kids, what's the term here you use about life ready to be out there in our society? Well, one of the things they need a strong math program. They need to be able to do their multiplications. They need good writing skills, and they definitely need to start with good reading skills. And so, you know, to look at your program in your academic department, do we have a good phonics program for the kids? Are we teaching them just sight words, or are we actually teaching them phonetically how to read? And if they don't get that in first grade, the kids are lost in geography. They're lost in everything. Reading is your foundation for everything. So one of the things you can emphasize as board members, staff, is to make sure they have a unbelievable good, so they can shine, and they will shine and raise the scores. And looking what Oregon's so much. I think out of the 50 states we're number 48. That's not a good sign, because somewhere maybe the phonics was lost a little bit. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next, Dee Dee Bentz.
Hi, Dee Dee Bentz. Thank you for giving me the time. So I think it was about a year ago I was standing here before you, and I had concerns about the communication between students, parents, and coaches. And I was told that that was going to be looked into, and thank you, Mr. Saunders. You have communicated with me on this. I really appreciate it. Was told that Parent Square was supposed to take care of that that would even include the teachers, which would be fabulous to have students, parents, teachers, and coaches all on the same app. I haven't seen that, and that's been very disappointing. And I saw on one of your slides it said Three Rivers School District, where students first actually means something. And I'm very concerned after what's happened with the coach and one of the students here. I have to wonder if an app might have been involved in that. Please get all of us on the same page. Right now, I have a senior here at Hidden Valley, and she is doing basketball and volleyball, kind of a little bit of both right now. Each of them use a separate app. And it's just easier if you would, at least if Parent Square can't get up and running, I understand that's got to be an enormous job, but recommend to these coaches and teachers, if they're communicating to, let's all be on the same app for the ease of parents, making it easy for us as we're busy and we never know what to check. And I also would like to put a plug in, thank you for Securely. I use that very diligently to know what my daughter is on. It has given us great insight, and much to her displeasure sometimes, what she's searching. Thank you for that, and please don't get rid of that. That's a big tool for parents to know what their kids are looking at on the internet. So that's all I wanted to say. Just please put those students first and get us all on the same page so we know what's being communicated to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Kelly Kennedy.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Kelly Kennedy. I have a couple quotes for you. It can't happen here. We can't afford it. We don't have time to do all that. Quotes from Jack Martin, president of the Martin Group and retired chief of school police at Indianapolis Public Schools, stated these are the reasons school security fails. Tragically, Hidden Valley High School essentially reiterated the excuses to me in an attempt to validate their inaction in what was only the latest incident of unprovoked, premeditated, video-recorded group violence targeting a student at Hidden Valley High School. Last year, a video went viral on social media and was heavily reported on the news that dictated the Hidden Valley High School as a victim of viral, brutal, videotaped group attack, ultimately landing her in the hospital. It was reported that administration at the high school refused to adequately reprimand students involved until after the incident was blasted on the news. This time, the victim was my son. My child was the victim of a premeditated, recorded violent attack that went viral on social media, wherein several students blocked the exit of the bathroom, preventing my son from escaping or defending himself out of fear of being jumped. The main attacker first ensured his co-conspirators were recording. Then, when my son was unaware, the main attacker repeatedly and relentlessly sucker punched my son in the back, neck, and face. Not only did my son not receive medical attention, but I was not even made aware of this vicious attack until 3 hours after. My son was already on his way home. Hidden Valley High School refused to create a plan of safety, rejected my suggestions, and suggested that my son, the victim, be followed around, not the perpetrators of this violence. None of the students blocking the exit and recording the attack were punished in any significant way. What kind of message does that send? This type of premeditated, filmed group attack is not your average school fight. They are the work of deeply troubled teens, but these attacks are becoming normalized and commonplace here at Hidden Valley. According to the National Center of Education Statistics, there were more school shootings in 2021 school year than any other year on record. Cyberbullying has become more than doubled in the last decade, and 1 in 5 secondary students report being a victim of bullying every year. These are all strong factors in teen suicide. Don't let the next victim be your child. The Rogue Valley is a special place. In fact, it's so special that most residents choose to live here all of their lives. I'd be willing to bet that many here in this room and watching the stream today have spent the majority of their lives here. Raising and educating children truly takes a village. Our village has been largely divided recently, but there is one thing that we can agree on. Our top priority is ensuring the safety of our children. Parents in this community are aware of these issues, and we are prepared to unite and ensure they are addressed. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "The time is always right to do what is right." I am asking you to do what is right, what you signed on to do. Your most essential responsibility. Please take action and ensure the safety of our children.
Thank you for your comments. All right, is it Pat Patterson?
Yes, I'm Pat Patterson. You've spoken a lot about you have a group that you're speaking with. I don't know how is that group chosen, your group of students? And then you say you get so much input. That's not shared. I mean, that's great information for you, but as parents and as a community, we need to know those things. The fact that you had this at 4 o'clock, parents are working. They can't be here. If you want parents' input, they need to be here. They need to have the ability to be here. I'm just appalled. I'm just appalled at what I just heard. So how much money has been spent on the gender-neutral bathrooms? And is that a priority? Or is safety a priority? Gender-neutral bathrooms are going to just cause more problems. And you're talking about your budget and what you don't have. Those are monies that could certainly have been better spent, in my opinion. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, and I think this says Cody. Okay.
unfortunately, I haven't prepared a whole speech to give in to you guys because you have talked a lot about values and putting kids first and everything and putting safety first. But unfortunately, you just had a 17-year-old get sexually assaulted by your coach. You have gang violence being recorded by kids in your guys' facilities. How can we believe that your guys' focus is safety? It doesn't appear that way. But my question I asked to come up here for was, what is the consent policy you guys just agreed on? Are you guys not allowed to answer me during these comments?
I think.
What's in the consent agenda? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
what is the
asking?
consent
Oh,
agenda you guys passed?
So what is a
unanimously
consent
without communicating
agenda?
to the public? Again, it's not really community driven if you guys
So
are just
I
voting
will,
individually.
typically we don't respond. I think this is something we can answer in the meeting right now, just easy. It's an easy question to answer. So items, a consent agenda are several items that we approve in one motion. So rather than visiting each item individually, they tend to be relatively routine items that are part of the consent agenda, and we will approve them as one motion. So we have all of the materials related to those items in the board packet, so information, for example, about what the out-of-state travel request is and that type of thing. And so we are able to approve those in one fell swoop. So it is efficient. We are also able to pull items out of the consent agenda if we want to talk about them in more detail at that point of the meeting. So if I personally had a concern about the travel request, I could say, I would approve the consent agenda, except for I would like to pull out this item and visit that one separately. So that's the consent agenda.
Okay.
Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. That was our last community comments. Now we're going to be moving on. This is where we're going.
I just need about 10 seconds. I wasn't going to talk tonight, but this hit my core with this news story, and I just wanted you guys to, I know it's the way it is, but the CDC just voted 50 million required COVID vaccines for children to immunization study, including 6-month-old babies. I was at the board meeting in July of 2020, and I saw how hot the parents got about the mask thing. I can only imagine what's going to happen to this, and I realize a lot of what this district, District 7, every district of the state's going to face is going to come through whatever happens to the governor at the time, because it's going to go through OED, I'm assuming. But I would urge you to begin thinking about the impact this is going to have, because I can just tell you personally, some of you know me pretty well. There's no way my kids would take the number to get this shot. We just know too much now to never stick this thing in my kids' arm. My kids would never show up at the front door here. So if this ends up being something that OED brings to a school, it's time to start looking at that so we can get more information to consider what might happen. I'm just speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We are now going to shift into the part of our meeting, and actually, I think, did Jamie just have to leave?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we still have 3 board members here, so we had attempted to try to get to our items, our action items when we had all of us here, as many as possible to vote, but we do still have a quorum in place with 3 of 5 board members, so we are still able to vote on our action items. And the first of those is the student wellness survey.
So annually, I come to the board and ask them to approve the administration of the wellness survey. It's administered at grades 6, 8, and 11. Is that correct, Grant? 6, 8, and 11? And we get a lot of information. I know that both Susan and Jen know what that information firsthand is used for. And, a lot of local agencies get that information. It's anonymous, but it paints a picture of a lot of different things. And I know it's driven the tobacco combat unit over at the prevention at juvenile justice. And so a lot of good comes from that. And so I would ask the board to approve the administration of that survey again this year.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Susan. Yeah, just the 3 of us now. All right, any discussion on the student wellness survey? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Next, North Valley High School Knight Stadium Evergreen Federal Bank Press Box.
Okay, so similar to last month, we asked for an Evergreen Federal, or approval to get the scoreboard here at the softball field. Evergreen Federal was part of that as well. So Evergreen Bank is going to offer North Valley High School $55,000 for a press box with the exchange of permanent naming rights for that press box. And North Valley, Casey Alderson, the athletic director for the district, and myself are very supportive of this, and so I'd ask the board approve that contract with Evergreen Federal Bank.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the Knight Stadium press box. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, next item, resolution number 2 to accept unbudgeted grant funds, setting appropriations, and authorizing expenditures for specific purposes for the Evergreen Seismic Grant.
Yes, on July 27th, we received our grant award for the Evergreen Seismic Project. Our budget had already been approved, so I'm asking that you allow this to be included in this year's budget. You'll recognize the revenue and the expenditures for this year.
Get toast.
Okay, so is there a motion to accept the unbudgeted grant funds related to the Evergreen Seismic Grant? It looks like $2.49 million.
I'll motion to approve resolution number 2 to accept unbudgeted grant funds, setting appropriations and authorizing expenditures for specific purposes, Evergreen Seismic Grant. It felt important anytime there's a resolution number.
All right, any discussion on this item? Just always, as we've done these seismic grants throughout the district, I am just so grateful for these additional funds that come to us in grant that help us with facility upgrades that are really meaningful, and those that have been done, we can just, I mean, there's one in this facility as well, that and Illinois Valley, they're wonderful. So thank you for keeping diligently going after these funds.
And we're applying for more.
Great. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Franklin Templeton 403B.
Yes, I've had several requests to include Franklin Templeton investments in our 403B plan document. Back in 2008, the federal government required that governmental education agencies oversee employee 403B plans. This allowed them to make sure that there were appropriate deductions, limits, additional provisions, those types of things. And so at that time, we went out to bid, and we approved 6 vendors and programs to include in our 403B plan document. We do have some employees currently in the district that could benefit by investing in Franklin Templeton, and so by adding them, it just helps our employees with their retirement.
All right. Is there a motion to, is it move forward or accept? How would you
To
phrase it?
accept Franklin Templeton
To Franklin,
to be added.
accept Franklin Templeton 403B.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. Then we have one more presented by Jessica Durant, the New Bridge HSYCEP Student Success Act Student Investment Account Grant Agreement.
Microphone.
Where is the mic? Oh, it's right there.
Hello? All right, so back, or every year when we submit a student investment account application, an agreement, actually, we come before the board. That's part of the student investment account requirement. And previously, Newbridge has done their own application, and it's now coming to the district that they're associated with. So for this school year, because I know it may be up on the next board meeting, but for this school year, they are under, quote, our umbrella. for the student investment account application. So I worked with Heather Merrill and Principal Dave Riegel in the spring of last year writing their application, and it was fantastic. Turned it in. It was all approved. They actually have hired the teacher that is there. This is simply just to actually look at the grant agreement. On very rare instances, the application is different than the agreement. So Oregon Department of Education asks you to look at the agreement. I will tell you nothing is different. It is exactly as we reported to you back at the May board meeting. So.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to, is it accept or approve? Do we need to approve the Newbridge HS YCEP Student Success Act and Student Investment Account Grant Agreement?
So moved.
All right. All right, we have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Now we are going to shift backwards to item number 10, reports with no action. The first of those is presented by Superintendent Valenzuela, Division 22 Standards for Public and Secondary Schools for 2021 and 2022, the assurances report to the community.
That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
Let's see.
You're really nailing it today with the long titles.
Annually, we are required to report to the board by law that this long set of assurances is being met. A lot of it's like seat hours. Are we meeting the 990 required seat hours for high school students, and there's 920 for elementary? Do we have our tag program in place? And these are all requirements that are in the packet and can be accessed on the board book. But so we report these annually. Usually it's in February when we report these, but the state has shifted that to earlier in the year. So it's due by November 1st, and so we have gone through the list of assurances, and we are in compliance across the board, and so that is the report to the board. And there's no action that needs to be taken. It just needs to be reported to the board in public.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions or discussion? All right. Next we have Jessica Durant with the summer school report, which I think we must have slides for.
We do.
Based
We
on
do
our
have.
preview.
We do have slides for it, and Mr. Saunders, I think, will put them up for you. So we had a very robust summer school program with lots of different funding streams. So I'm going to take you through. It actually was here at Hidden Valley when we talked about summer school before. So it's kind of both bookends, which I think is great. So next slide. Just a reminder, we had, again, a plethora of funding sources for our different types of summer school. And of course, every different type of funding source has its own requirements. But you can see up there that elementary, middle, Lorna Byrne had its own special grant, high school did, and then high school 21st century. So again, everyone's a little bit different, but ultimately the same goal, at least for the high school, is credit attainment and achievement and opportunity. And then for elementary and middle, it is more of recouping some of those lost skills and just plain fun enrichment. So, next one. Let's just recap. So this is a report of how many students actually came. So you can see up there, the X indicates that they were able, because of staffing, to offer it. This is all based on if there were staff that were willing or had the availability to work. So it may not be because the principal didn't want to offer it, just they may have had a family vacation or something, and we highly respect that, and teachers needed a break. And so we acknowledge that part. On the far right is the total number of students that were served over the course of the summer. Everybody did elementary summer school in August. That was our kickstart to kindergarten. So all of those pre-K students, we called it Critter Camp. And it was a great opportunity for incoming kinders to get used to the school and basically learn where their classroom is and just how to be school in kindergarten and have fun. So those are the numbers for our elementary. For middle school, this is only for Lincoln Savage and Fleming, because remember, Lorna Byrne is funded through a different grant, so they have their own slide. The grade levels that you see are the grade levels from last school year, and that's the same throughout the whole grant. So if you see 5th grade, those students who came in June are actually 6th graders on campus now. So both of our middle schools reached down and did a huge inclusion of their incoming 5th grade. Makes that transition to middle school that much easier. And Fleming did have staff that were able to provide summer school during the week of August, right before in-service week. And those were the numbers that attended. Lorna Byrne had a very different grant, and again, with requirements, they were required to go 4 weeks with a certain number of hours each week. And so this is, they had all of those students attended all 4 weeks. So huge shout out to Lorna Byrne and their staff. Kids don't come if it's boring. So the fact that they had this many students come to summer school for 4 weeks meant it was fun, it was engaging, it was exciting, and they wanted to come back. And so they had a great attendance for there, very similar to last year. And now high school. So let's look at this chart. So on the left, you'll see the schools, including SOSA. This money for this grant was funded through the Oregon Department of Education. This is not 21st Century. That's the next slide. You can see the weeks that were offered and the number of students that were served. Again, that's last year's grade level. It's important to look at the number of credits offered versus the number of credits earned. You might ask, why is that a big deal? Well, it's one of the things we have to report on. How many credits were offered to students to earn, and then how many did they actually earn? And for the high school, we have to even attach it to a student's SSID number. So that's something that we have to report to the state in the next week. So Hidden Valley, you'll see that they have a higher number of credits that were offered. It's due in direct part to their freshman academy that they had right before school started. Students had the opportunity to not only attend, but then do some work online to earn the credit. And some students did. Not many of them, but some did. So that's why you see a discrepancy in the numbers over there. And next slide should be high school. This is what's funded from 21st Century, somewhat similar to the Oregon Department of Education grant. Again, the goal is to earn credits, offer them and earn them. This was entirely done online through Edgenuity, led by Mike Herzog, who is a phenomenal guru and helps keep all of that organized, and just a heart of gold as well. So you can see we had a lot of credits offered and some earned. Some of the reasons why a credit may not be finished. Something happened over the summer and the student wasn't able to finish attending. They may have moved, a whole variety of reasons why the credit was there, but they weren't able to make it to the finish line. So if you've been keeping track with some mental math, that's great. Let's see if your math adds my math. This is the total for all high schools for the number of credits offered and the number of credits earned. 83.5 credits earned over the summer toward graduation, which is fantastic. And that is no small feat for our high school staff to do. So kudos to all of the high schools for pulling it together, and to the staff that were there every day, helping push the kids along to get to the finish line. And lastly, how much does this cost? So you can see there's a variety of ways. So let's look at elementary, which is definitely an outlier. I will tell you that there's a lot, all of that is staffing. Very few supplies actually were purchased for the elementary school, but to have 49 kids come for summer school when it's really truly intended to help shore up some of that unfinished learning, you need about 1 to 4 or 5 staff ratio. So the staffing is the major cost for the elementary school. Middle school, Lorna Byrne, again, that's on their separate grant that you can see listed. Their allocation was $95,000, and we came darn close to spending all of it. I like to spend it down. I get as close as about $1,000, and then Lisa Cross is like, okay, that's close enough. So I like to, if we're going to get the money, I want to make sure we try to spend it all. The high school 21st Century grant, again, came from that grant. One thing about the 25% match, the ODE grant comes with a catch. It's 75%. And the remaining 25% has to be a match from the district. And one of the things we heard from our stakeholders from Student Investment Account is additional chance for school in the summer. And so because that was a need that our stakeholders and parents and staff said, we were able to use our Student Investment Account dollars to cover that match. Part from last year, and about $26,000 I got a nod. Okay, good, I'm close. About $26,000 from this current school year to cover the August cost. So to get all of that, it's about $500,000 or so. And that includes transportation. That includes paying food service because it's also required to provide breakfast and lunch. So Rob helped organize the food service staff for that, and they did a phenomenal job. So that's all encompassing. So hopefully that's the information that you're wanting. If there's something else that you're curious about, please just reach out. Most likely I have that data because the data reporting is pretty robust.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next item. Any comments on this report or questions or discussion? Sorry, didn't mean to.
I just want to give special kudos knowing that summers are precious to our educators and to all of our supporting staff that make this possible. Thank you to them for enriching the lives of our students. It's really impactful.
Yeah, those numbers are really impressive. I was doing some, like, as you went, like you said, you saw me doing probably, I was like adding up, I was like, wow, that's a lot of kids. Next item is Food for Kids Co-op. Jessica, you again.
I got a random email and followed up on it, and it led to something really cool. And it's called the Fork Project. I don't have a visual. Oh, I do have. Thank you. Whoever has that visual. The Fork Project is an acronym, of course, because in education we love everything acronymish. Food for Kids Co-op. And it is a project organized by Diane Hoover, who is part of Rotary. She also works at RCC, but in this project she's wearing her Rotary hat. And she reached out to Susan Zatola and myself and said, I know kids over the weekend, not all kids have parents who are able to provide for them meals or any kind of food assistance. So what if I was able to find some money with Rotary and other community partners to give you, as a school district, some prepackaged meals and snacks? I said, yeah, and she came through. And so we have been meeting regularly about this. The initial investment is $15,000. None of it is paid for with Three Rivers money. It's all donation from Rotary in cooperation with the Redwood Foundation. Thank you, Constance, for helping organize that part. And the first allotment of food is $5,000. And so hopefully within the next week, we'll get the green light and we will go to Costco and buy prepackaged meals. It's not a full meal, but we're really trying hard not to call it a snack because for some kids, this is what they have for the meal. So we're really trying hard to not use the term snack, which I catch myself on many times. On Thursdays, once we have this in place, this will be, by the way, at every elementary school in Three Rivers and District 7. Identified kids will come to the office and they'll have a blue bin and a red bin, and they pick a couple from this one and a couple from this one and put it in their backpack and take it home over the weekend. And so there's choice in the two different bins, and then we will just continually stock the bins as long as we can. Susan Zatola and I have met with Diane and said, okay, so do we limit it? Do we ration it? What to do? And so she's trying to find additional donors to help with that piece, including the food bank. Josephine County Food Bank is the other partner in this grant. So just want to say it's a cool thing. Our elementary principals were very excited about this program, and they know the kids who are in need. Does not have to be homeless, just a kid that needs something over the weekend or a long holiday weekend. So just wanted to keep you aware. If you hear Fork Project, it's not going along with a spoon and a knife. It is a thing.
Thank you. Okay, the last report we have is a financial update from Lisa Cross.
Thank you for your time tonight. Rob, do you have that presentation? Okay. I wanted to take a little bit of time and just provide you with an overview of our capital projects. I'd like to go through what we did last year, where we ended up, and where we're headed this year. Give you just a little idea. The next slide, please. We'll start with our Capital Projects Fund 400. Last year, we spent about $192,000 on projects. And two of the larger projects, there on the left, you can see the new boiler that was bought for Fleming. That's a cast iron boiler for their heating. And on the right is the Manzanita gym floor that was almost finished. So those were the two largest projects. I'll let you change. At the end of the year, we ended up with a balance of $923,000 in that fund. However, I want you to understand that those dollars are earmarked. They're allocated for certain projects that we may need to have to either replace or repair in the future. Fleming wastewater treatment plant, the Manzanita rest area treatment plant. Our activity vans and district fleet vehicles need to be replaced. Our property proceeds, last year we sold Selma Elementary, so those dollars are kept there in that fund in case we need to purchase property in the future. The only thing that was actually budgeted in addition this year was some field work at North Valley High School for $80,000. So those dollars are earmarked and used throughout the year to help in those areas. Can change. Thank you. Fund 405 is our construction excise tax fund, and last year we received $349,000 from the excise tax itself. We received a $200,000 grant. Thank you to Lily Morgan. It helped with our Lincoln Savage project. And then we did have some transfer of funds from other funds. We spent almost $850,000 in projects last year in this fund, and to highlight some of them, we had 5 ADA accessible ramps installed at buildings. The one on the left is the old Applegate building, the brick building, yeah. And the one on the right is one of 4 ramps that were installed at Evergreen Elementary. The Lincoln Savage Middle School, you're probably really tired of hearing about this, but it's really phenomenal the amount of work that they did. Those 4 tanks that you see there are 3,000-gallon tanks, septic tanks. There were also 3 other tanks that held about the same amount. Those were for filtering and dosing the sewage. There was over 3,500 feet of leach lines that had to be put in. And then there was the electronic component that organizes all that and keeps it running. It was done, completed last fall, and it's running well, and it should for many, many years.
What's the next one?
This is the Lorna Byrne Middle School cooling tower. The HVAC system at Lorna Byrne required a replacement of that. But this is actually great. If you see that kind of circular piece of equipment on the left-hand column, or the left-hand picture, this new cooling tower, instead of using chemicals to treat the water to keep bacteria and the impurities out of the water, they're using electricity, like pulsing electricity going through, and it's eco-friendly, it's safer, it's cheaper because we don't have to buy chemicals and we don't have to dispose of them. So over the long run, it was a great addition. And this is the Fort Benoit parking lot. We recently got that after picture, so I had to show you the before and after picture. Most of the work was done in this year, but some of it was paid for in last year. And as you know, this was a priority for safety. The school buses and the parents now have separate ways to get in and out of the school. There's sidewalks the entire way. Some of the perks were there's additional parking now for the staff and parents, and safety getting out and ease of traffic moving through. And I think Dave can attest to that.
Yep, dropping off my 5th grader is so much better. Oh.
And as with all renovation projects, you know, there's always something that pops up. And so that happened here, but it was a good thing. What they found out, found out that the leach fields were starting to fail out in the field. And so by finding out early, we were able to get the leach fields repaired before the rain came, because once the rain comes, you can't fix those. And there was no catastrophic failure, as we saw in Lincoln Savage. So this was a little expensive, but it worked. So overall, looking into this next year, we should have, estimate having about $1.5 million in this fund to do projects. The prioritized projects this year, we finished the Fort Benoit paving. That has been paid for. The Illinois Valley High School roof is right up there at the top. The Fruitdale Cooling Tower needs to be replaced. The North Valley High School fire alarm needs to be replaced. And there's some other smaller projects in there. Next month, we hope to have, next month we will have better data and estimates for you and a recommendation as to how to move forward with these projects and when. So if you could change to the last one, there still is another fund in capital projects, and those are just some of the other grant-funded projects that we have. The 4-classroom addition at Fruitdale Elementary, the middle and high school restroom renovations, and then the Fleming seismic upgrade. So we will add Evergreen to that. It should be up in the beginning stages at the end of this year.
Excellent. Can I just ask a question on the roofing? The estimate for that, was that from our previous, like the estimates we received prior to going out for bond, or is that a more refreshed estimate?
It is a more refreshed estimate. It is within the last 6 months, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, thank you for that update. That's really actually very helpful. Any other questions or discussion? All right. Item 12 on the agenda is communication to the board. These are just routine items that are communicated to us each month. And then we're moving on to, if there's no comment related to or discussion related to communication items, we'll move on to suggested future agenda items. Do you have any of those?
I just heard from the students today some questions about support for sports teams, clubs, agricultural clubs. So just would love a better sense of what that looks like for our district. We know that adds so much, plus our music programs, our drama programs. And I would love to just continue learning about those programs.
We could do that in either, we could provide a report, but I think the conversation is more valuable, so that could be a work session.
That sounds
if
great.
we wanted
That'd
to
be a
look
great
down the
work
road.
session.
Yeah.
And I think we probably might want to just a little bit of follow-up. I know Rob's doing a lot of great work on parent communication systems and coaches' communication systems, but where we're at on that, and where we're going, just kind of refresh us. I do realize that we talked about this last year, and I mean we made some strides, but just make sure that the momentum's still going forward and hitting the mark.
Yeah, I agree.
Right after the student panel, I know Jamie had said, made a comment about us digesting that information together, perhaps in a work session. So maybe we could schedule a work session to talk both about the student panel and also about those club-related items, unless you feel like they need to be, I don't know if that's me, I'm sorry if it is, they need to be separated for some reason.
No, we can do 2 items in a work session for sure. And we can follow up after maybe the SOSA, Southern Oregon Success Academy student panel, then we'll have 2 student groups to kind of work through.
That would be great. Yeah, I think that would be good, and that will be a day that we are having probably an earlier meeting like this one, so we would be able to do that afterwards. So for those in attendance, our regular board meetings are typically held at 6 o'clock. The ones that are held earlier are the ones that are held in the schools, because we do them in coordination with the student panel. So we hold the student panel whilst class is in session, and then follow that with the board meeting afterwards, and then close the meeting. So our routine regular board sessions are typically held at 6 p.m. And it gives us a better opportunity to interface with the students and the teachers in the district.
The full schedule's on the website, either on the calendar or on the board.
Yes, so yes, there is the full schedule on the, just so you don't have a mic, the full schedule of board meetings and the timing of those board meetings is on the website, publicly posted. We vote on that schedule typically in like July, I think, and then, and that is out there for the year. All right. There, again, is also the opportunity for parents or those community members that are interested in viewing our school board meetings to look at the recordings online. Those are available like on an ongoing basis, right? Older meetings, and they're just added to that catalog out there. So that's another thing that we I think started during the COVID shutdown that has been an advancement, something we were hoping for to help with really clear community transparency about what is happening in our board meetings and making it easier for anyone to access our board meetings even if they can't attend the session in person. I will say one more time also that those with community comments that are not able to attend a board meeting can submit those either via Zoom or there's a way to do that electronically via a virtual link. Maybe it isn't Zoom. I don't know. I don't, Rob's in charge of that. And also you can submit written comments to the board for us to review as well. So lots of ways to access us. Any final thoughts?
Just a shameless announcement for Hidden Valley High School does a veteran celebration on November 10th. If you know of a veteran that would be wanting to attend, it's really, really well done here. I've been to several at multiple school districts, and Hidden Valley really does a real nice presentation and recognition of those veterans. Please encourage them to attend. They can contact the office for more information, just to get on the list, and then that way their name's also on the list, and they'll be recognized by name when they're here.
Lastly, our next meeting is Wednesday, November 16th. That's a regular session at the district office at 6 p.m. We do not have a work session in November at this point. And then the meeting after that is held on Wednesday, December 14th. That's moved up just a skosh because of the holidays. So December 14th, that is going to be held at Southern Oregon Success Academy at 3:30 p.m. with a student panel at 1:30 p.m. Looking forward to that. So any other comments before we close? All right, we are adjourned. Can I use your pen? Use your